You ever get that feeling? Not the jump scare feeling you get from a movie. I'm talking about the slow, cold feeling that starts in your stomach and climbs up your spine like a spider. The feeling that something is watching you from a place just outside your vision. That's the feeling this story gave me. And it starts with a box of tapes. My name isn't important. I live in a small town in the Pacific Northwest. You know the type. One main street, more trees than people, and a history that everyone politely agrees not to talk about. A few months back, old Mrs. Henderson passed away in the house 3 down from mine. Lived there for 90 years. No family. The bank was set to clear the place out, but they let the neighbors take a look before the dumpsters came. I wasn't looking for anything special, maybe a decent bookshelf, but in her damp, cobwebbed basement, next to a broken washing machine from what looked like the 1970s, was a simple cardboard box. It was labeled, in shaky handwriting, "For the Listener." Inside weren't photo albums or tax records. It was cassette tapes. Dozens of them. Each one had a date written on it, spanning from 1982 to 1998, and a name, Dr. Alistair Finch. Curiosity got the better of me. I took the box home. That night, with the rain tapping against my window, I dug out an old cassette player I had from a garage sale. I picked the tape with the earliest date, October 31st, 1982. I pressed play. The voice that came out was calm, educated, but with a tremor underneath. A man used to speaking, but not to a machine. Dr. Finch's voice, on tape. Audio log, October 31st, 1982. Patient, let's call him Subject M. First session. M is a lifelong resident of Blackwater County. He is here under familial pressure. He insists he is not insane. He insists he is cursed. He says the stones in the woods near Blackwater Gorge speak to him, not in words, he clarifies, in whispers, in memories that are not his own. He says they are hungry. He says they show him how they were fed. I am prescribing a mild sedative and scheduling a follow-up. His fear, however, is clinically fascinating. It is not the fear of a hallucination. It is the fear of a man who has seen a true, unalterable fact. I stopped the tape. Blackwater Gorge. That's a real place, about an hour's drive from here. It's a state park now. Hiking trails, picnic areas. They don't talk about the older name much, Sorrow's End. I played the next tape, November 15th, 1982. Dr. Finch on tape. Subject M is deteriorating. The sedatives do nothing. He says the whispers are no longer just in the woods. He hears them in the patter of rain, in the hum of the radiator. He drew something today. I've attached it to his file. It's a rough circle surrounded by 7 smaller marks. In the center, he wrote one word, remember. He said the stones are not just stones, they are teeth, and the ground around Sorrow's End is the mouth. A chill went through me. I'd heard that phrase before. Local kids would dare each other to go to the mouth at night. I always thought it was just a spooky name for a cave. The tapes progressed. Finch's calm, professional tone began to crack. He started visiting the gorge himself. He mentioned finding unusual smooth stones arranged in patterns that defied natural erosion. He found animal bones, old ones, placed in deliberate radial lines. Then the tape from February 3rd, 1983. Dr. Finch on tape. I met another today, not a patient, an old man at the Historical Society. When I mentioned Sorrow's End, he went pale. He said the town wasn't always here. The original settlement, founded in 1861, was Sorrow's End. It vanished. Not from disease or famine, from departure. The 1870 census shows 143 souls. The 1880 census shows 0, no record of where they went. The man told me some places ain't meant for people, some ground just gets full. He wouldn't speak further.
Finch's logs became less about Subject M and more about his own investigation. He was obsessed. He stopped calling them delusions. He started calling them the phenomenon. The final tape in this early series was dated June 21st, 1983, summer solstice. M is gone. Checked himself out of the care facility last night. They found his clothes this morning, neatly folded on the bank of Blackwater Creek, just outside the gorge. No sign of him. No footprints leading away. I went to the location. The police had left, and there, in the mud beside his pile of clothes, was a single, perfectly smooth black stone. It was warm to the touch, and when I held it, I didn't hear a whisper. I felt a deep, awful longing that was not my own. It wanted me to walk into the water. It took every ounce of my will to drop the stone. This is no longer a psychological study. I am documenting something else. I fear what happens when the mouth gets hungry again. The tape ended. My room was silent except for the rain. The casual, real-world details, the census records, the state park, the local dare, wrapped the horror in something solid. This wasn't about ghosts. It was about the land itself and a doctor who stumbled onto its secret. I looked at the box. Dozens more tapes. 1984, 1985, all the way to 1998. What did Dr. Finch discover? Why did the tapes stop? And the most terrifying question, the one that slithered into my mind as I sat there in the dark, why did Mrs. Henderson, my quiet gardening neighbor for 20 years, have these? Was she the listener? I knew I had to listen to the next tape. The curiosity was a physical ache, but I also knew, deep in that cold place in my stomach, that some stories change you. Some truths, once heard, can't be unheard. This is where the story truly begins, and this is where I have to pause for now.
Welcome back. I should have stopped after hearing that first set of tapes. I should have put the box in the trash, or better yet, burned it. But that pull Dr. Finch described, I felt it too. Not from a stone, but from the truth. I needed to know what happened to him. So I played the next tape. March 17, 1984. Almost a year after Subject M vanished. Finch's voice was different, colder, sharper. The professional detachment was gone, replaced by a grim, focused energy. Dr. Finch on tape. Log. St. Patrick's Day. No luck with the shamrocks. The phenomenon is seasonal. It sleeps in the deep winter. It stirs in the spring. I've correlated the dates from local missing persons reports, not the ones in town, the ones from the state park. Hikers, campers. They cluster around the equinoxes and solstices. 6 disappearances in the last 20 years within a 1-mile radius of the central gorge. Authorities blame the river, the cliffs, animals. They are not wrong. They are just not complete. Dr. Finch on tape. I've been conducting field recordings at night. The audio is problematic. A long pause, the sound of rustling paper. On the tape, you hear standard forest sounds, wind, crickets, the creek. But when I listen back with headphones, in the silent spaces, there are ingressions. Faint, overlapping whispers in no language I recognize. They are below the range of normal hearing, felt more than heard, a sub-audible vibration that induces nausea. I've attached a spectrogram. The pattern isn't random, it's a repeating, pulsing waveform, like a heartbeat or a call. He included a photograph with this batch of tapes. I found it tucked in the box. It's a grainy black and white image of a rock face in the gorge. At first, it looks like normal lichen-covered stone, but if you stare, the shadows in the fissures don't make sense.
They seem to form faces, not carved faces, pressed faces, as if something had been pushed, screaming, into the rock, and the stone had memorized the impression. I put the photo face down. I couldn't look for long. The next tape was June 20, 1984, the night before the summer solstice. Dr. Finch on tape. It knows I'm listening. I am not paranoid. I am observed. The animals are the first sign. No deer at the tree line. No bird song after 3 p.m. The woods go preternaturally quiet. Then the stones appear. His voice drops to a whisper. Dr. Finch on tape. They are always smooth, black, or deep gray. They appear on the path, on my porch step. One was on the passenger seat of my locked car this morning, warm like a living thing cooling. They are invitations or warnings. The pull is stronger near them, a drowsy, welcoming thought. Just come to the gorge. Just lie down. It doesn't hurt. We remember. You will be remembered too. Dr. Finch on tape. I've identified the central site, the mouth. It's not a cave. It's a depression, a bowl about 30 feet across, nestled where the creek originates. The 7 large boulders M drew are there, arranged in a perfect ring. The ground inside the ring is barren. Nothing grows, not a weed, not a patch of moss. The soil is fine, gray, and cold, even in summer. I took a sample. The lab lost it. They have no record of it. Dr. Finch on tape. Something is here with me. I see movement in the trees, not an animal's movement, a slow, patient shifting, like something that doesn't need to rush because the land itself is part of it. I am leaving now. Tomorrow is the solstice. I will be back. I have to know. The tape clicked off. My hands were sweating. This wasn't just a story anymore. Finch was a rational man documenting his own descent into a nightmare that was physically real. The details, the lab losing the sample, the specific dates, they built a cage of reality around the impossible. I braced myself and played the next tape. June 22nd, 1984, the day after the solstice. For the first minute, there is only sound, heavy, ragged breathing, the crunch of footsteps on gravel, then a choked, broken voice. Dr. Finch on tape. It fed. Dr. Finch on tape. I hid. I watched from the ridge. I used the night vision scope. Just after midnight, a man walked into the bowl. He wasn't local, a camper maybe. He walked in a trance, straight to the center. He lay down, and then the ground moved. It didn't swallow him, it enfolded him. The gray soil flowed over him like liquid, gentle, almost loving. He didn't struggle. He had the most peaceful smile on his face. The last thing to disappear was his hand. Then it was just barren ground again. 5 minutes later, a new stone pushed up from the center, smooth, black, still warm when I touched it after he was gone. Dr. Finch on tape. The whisper from that stone was clear. It was the camper's voice, but blended with 100 others. It said, "Thank you. I am remembered. We are full for now." This is a cycle, a harvest. The stones are memories, tombs, batteries. I don't know, but the phenomenon is intelligent. It's symbiotic with the land, and we are its crop. I shut off the player. The image he described, the peaceful smile, the gentle soil, was worse than any violent monster. It was a horror that welcomed you, that made you want to be consumed. I now understood the title on the box, For the Listener. This wasn't a gift, it was a responsibility, a warning, or is it a transfer? Why did Mrs. Henderson have these? Was she Finch's confidant, his successor? I went to my window and looked out at her dark, empty house. Had she listened to all these tapes? Had she gone to the gorge? The next tape in sequence was dated over a year later, October 31st, 1985, Halloween. A pattern was forming, the liminal dates, the thresholds between seasons. I haven't played it yet. I'm recording this for you first, because after hearing what happened on the solstice, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what Finch became after witnessing that, and I'm afraid of why he kept recording for another 13 years. What did he do with this knowledge? Did he try to stop it? Or did he, in some terrible way, start to understand it? The box is on my desk. The tape from Halloween 1985 is sitting right here. The pull is stronger than ever. To listen is to be changed. To know is to be linked. I'm going to play it now. I'll record what I find for part 3. But I'll give you this warning, listener to listener. If you have a place like Blackwater Gorge near you, a place with old names, with too many quiet missing persons cases, don't go looking for the stones. They might be looking for a listener too.
I played the Halloween tape, and the ones after. What I found in Dr. Finch's logs from 1985 to 1989, it didn't just change the story, it changed me. Because Finch stopped being an observer, he became an experimenter. Dr. Finch, on tape, October 31, 1985. Hypothesis. The phenomenon is not evil. It is amoral, a natural process like a spider weaving a web. The web must be fed. I have decided to facilitate the process. To study it properly, one must participate. I have identified a suitable subject, a transient, no connections. The pull is strong in him. I will guide him to the mouth on the next auspicious date. I will document everything. This is no longer anthropology. This is applied theology. He did it. He led a man to his death. No, not death, assimilation. The tape of November 1st, 1985 is just 3 words spoken with a terrifying mix of awe and guilt. Dr. Finch, on tape. It was beautiful. This was the turning point. Finch's logs became a mad scientist's journal. He started mapping the pull, discovering it was stronger in people with trauma, with loss, with a deep, unspoken weariness of life. The whispers promised them peace, reunion, an end to loneliness. He called them the ready. He also discovered something else. The stones, the memories, could be accessed, not just heard, experienced. Dr. Finch, on tape, February 2nd, 1986. I took the stone from the transient, held it for an hour in a meditative state. I saw his memories, felt his hunger from the night before he met me, tasted the soup from a mission kitchen. But beneath it, I felt the other memories, the chorus, the ones from sorrow's end. I saw the town, I saw the people in their 19th century clothes, walking willingly into the mouth, not in fear, but in a solemn procession. They weren't victims, they were congregants.
They were feeding something they worshipped. They called it the Keeper of Roots. The Keeper of Roots. The name made my skin crawl. Finch described it not as a monster, but as a presence within the land. The gorge was its heart. The stones were its neurons, its memory banks. And it was always, always hungry for new experiences, new stories to absorb. The tapes grew more erratic. Finch was clearly spending too much time with the stones, bathing his mind in the chorus of the consumed. His own identity began to blur. In a log from 1988, he refers to a childhood memory of his father, but the details match a diary entry from a 12-year-old girl who disappeared in 1953, a case I later found in microfiche at the library. He was being overwritten. Then the tape from September 22nd, 1989, the autumn equinox. Dr. Finch on tape. It spoke to me directly today, not through a stone. The air in the bowl grew still, and the whisper came from everywhere. It said, "You have been a faithful gardener. You may ask one question." A long pause, the sound of Finch's shaky breath. Dr. Finch on tape. I asked, "What is your purpose?" The answer. He begins to weep, not in fear, but in overwhelming revelation. The answer was not in words, it was a concept planted in my mind. The keeper is not from this world. It fell or was placed here long ago. It is a custodian. It doesn't just consume life, it preserves it perfectly, forever. In its own way, it is an act of love, a terrible, hungry love that saves us from the true horror, which is to be forgotten, to be nothing. In the stone you are remembered, you are part of something eternal. The people of Sorrow's End understood this. They gave themselves willingly when their time came. Do you hear the madness? The insidious, logical madness. Finch had been convinced. He saw himself not as a monster, but as a priest of a terrible salvation. The final tape in this batch was April 30th, 1990. It was different. The manic energy was gone. It was a will and testament. Dr. Finch, on tape. I am becoming unstable. The chorus is loud. My memories are not my own. I see my mother's face, but she has the eyes of a farmer from 1872. I must step back. I will seal the records. I will find a successor, a listener to hold this knowledge, to keep the watch. The keeper must have its gardener. If the cycle is broken, if it is denied, I believe it would express its hunger in less gentle ways. The disappearances would not be peaceful. They would be violent, chaotic. The land itself would sicken. This is the balance. This is the pact. A soft, sad sigh. To the listener who hears this, the box is your burden now. You know the cycle, the solstices, the equinoxes. You know the signs of the ready. The choice is yours. Tend the garden or unleash a famine. There is no third option. I am going to the gorge now, not to be consumed, but to be close, to listen to my congregation. Goodbye. The tapes stopped for 4 years. I sat in the silence of my own home, but it wasn't silent anymore. I could feel the box in the other room, a pulsing psychic weight. Finch's choice was now mine. Tend the garden, become a shepherd for the lost, guiding them to become food for an ancient thing in the ground, or risk a famine.
And then the most horrifying thought of all. Was this why Mrs. Henderson gave me the box? Was she the listener after Finch? Did she, a sweet old lady who brought me tomatoes every summer, did she quietly, kindly point lost souls towards the gorge? I felt sick. I am sick. This isn't a ghost story. It's a job description. The next tape is labeled 1994. The handwriting on the label isn't Finch's. It's a woman's handwriting. I recognize it. It's the same handwriting as on the casserole recipe card Mrs. Henderson gave me 5 years ago. I have to stop. I have to breathe. The reality of this is closing in around me. The neighbor I thought I knew, the woods where I go hiking, the peaceful missing persons reports in the local paper. It's all connected, and I am now the knot at the center of it all. Part 4 will be the hardest to tell. It's where I learn what Mrs. Henderson did and where I have to decide what I will do. The spring equinox is in 3 weeks. The land is waking up.
I played the 1994 tape. The voice that came out wasn't Dr. Finch's. It was a soft, gentle, familiar voice. The voice of my old neighbor, Eleanor Henderson. But it wasn't the voice of the woman who brought me zucchini bread. This was her other voice, the listener's voice. Eleanor Henderson on tape, May 15, 1994. Alistair's instructions were clear. Find the next listener before the current one fades. I found his box in 1990 after they found his car parked at the Blackwater trailhead. He's out there among the stones. He's part of the chorus now. I can hear him sometimes in the rain. He's content. The work is simple, not easy. You watch the town. You listen for the cracks in people's lives, the deep, quiet ones, the man who lost his wife to cancer and just never came back from it, the young woman whose eyes are always hollow, who jumps at loud noises, the ones the world has worn down to a thread. The keeper's pull is strongest in them. You don't push, you just nudge. A conversation about the peacefulness of the old gorge, leaving a park brochure in their mailbox, making sure their car has just enough gas to get there, but not back. They make the choice. They always walk in willingly, and the hunger is sated. The land stays quiet. The violent disappearances, the ones that attract real attention, those are what happened when the keeper is denied, when there is no listener to tend the garden. I have prevented 3 such events. I am sure of it. She was a serial killer. A kindly, gentle, grandmotherly serial killer who believed she was performing a sacred community service, and she was training me. The tapes continued through the 90s. Her logs were mundane, domestic, and monstrous. Suggested to Robert at the post office that some quiet time by the creek might help his nerves. He went missing last Tuesday. Solstice was peaceful. Left a stone on the doorstep of the Miller girl. She picked it up. She'll be ready by the equinox. The last tape in her hand was dated October 30th, 1998, the night before she died. Eleanor Henderson on tape. I am tired. The chorus is so loud now. I hear the children from Sorrow's End singing. It's a beautiful song. I can't remember my son's voice anymore, but I can hear a farmer singing to his daughter in 1868. It's a fair trade. My time is near. I've chosen the next listener, the young man down the street. He's lonely. He has a curious mind. He listens to true crime podcasts searching for patterns in chaos. He will recognize the pattern here. He will find the box, and he is himself somewhat ready. His loneliness is a deep, quiet well. The keeper would find him delicious. That is his insurance. To do this work, you must always know you are also a potential offering. It keeps you honest. Goodbye. She was talking about me. She targeted me. My loneliness, my curiosity, she saw it as a tool, a leash. I am both the shepherd and a potential sheep. I didn't sleep, I drove. I ended up at the state park entrance to Blackwater Gorge just before dawn. The mouth isn't on any trail map, but I knew. Following a pull that felt like magnetic north in my bones, I hiked off trail for an hour, and I found it. The bowl, the 7 stones, just as Finch described. It was a profoundly ordinary and utterly wrong. The silence was a physical pressure. No bugs, no birds. The air was still and cold. In the center of the barren gray soil, there was one smooth black stone. I didn't touch it, but I heard it anyway. Not a sound, a feeling, a wave of warm, welcoming despair. A promise, you will never be lonely again. We are here. We remember everything. Let us remember you. It was the most seductive thing I have ever felt. I ran. I tripped, fell, scrambled back to my car, my heart trying to batter its way out of my ribs. But here's the terrible truth, the one I've been avoiding. I understood them. Finch, Henderson. In this broken, lonely, forgetful world, the Keeper's promise is a dark, glittering jewel. To be part of a permanent memory, to never be nothing. The spring equinox is in 9 days, and I have already identified the ready. His name is Carl. He works at the gas station. His wife left him 2 years ago. His eyes are empty. He's started drinking. The world has left him behind. The pull around him is like a heat haze. The Keeper is hungry, and it's looking at him. I am the listener now. I have the box. I have the knowledge. I have the nudge to give. This is where the story leaves the past and becomes the present. My choice. Tend the garden with a gentle, monstrous hand, or break the cycle and risk unleashing a hungry, angry god into my town. I'm recording this from a motel room 50 miles away. I can't go home. The box is in my trunk. I can feel it.
I am recording this from inside the bowl, at the mouth. The spring equinox moon is directly overhead, a cold silver coin. The 7 stones around me feel like silent sentinels. The gray soil beneath me is soft, welcoming. I did not nudge Carl. I went to the gas station 3 days ago. I bought a pack of gum. I looked into his dead, tired eyes, and I saw myself in 5 years, or 5 months. The perfect, ready listener, a closed, quiet loop. I opened my mouth to speak the words Eleanor Henderson taught me through her tapes, to mention the peace of the gorge. But a different truth came out. I said, "It gets better, you know. It's a lie that it doesn't, but you have to outlast the lie." He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time. He didn't say thank you. He just gave a slow, weary nod, a human connection, a tiny defiance against the pull. It was enough. I walked away knowing I had broken the pact. The hunger in the land became palpable. The next day, the news reported a hiker, a vibrant young woman with everything to live for, vanished from a popular trail 5 miles from here, violently. They found her backpack shredded, claw marks on the trees too high for any bear. The Keeper was no longer asking politely. It was hunting. The famine had begun. I knew what I had to do. Not to feed it, to talk to it. So I came here, tonight. I brought the box of tapes and a gasoline can. I sat in the center.
I took the warm black stone in my hand. The chorus flooded into me, not as a jumble, but as a single, vast, ancient voice, the keeper of roots. It was not angry, it was curious. A vast, slow intelligence as old as the bedrock, focused on the tiny, defiant speck that was me. I didn't hear words, I received its nature. Finch was right, it is not evil, it is a function, a part of the ecosystem of this place. It preserves, it remembers, but it must be fed memories to do so. To it, we are fleeting, brilliant sparks. It wants to save our light from the dark of oblivion. Its love is real, and it is utterly, cosmically selfish. I showed it my memory, not of loneliness, but of my choice with Carl. The tiny, fragile act of human kindness, the refusal to pass on the cycle. I showed it the concept of letting go, of allowing a story to end, truly end, even if it means being forgotten. The keeper hesitated. The chorus swelled in confusion. For it, forgetting is the only true horror, to be unmade. Then I poured gasoline on the box of tapes, on Finch's life's work, on Henderson's meticulous logs, on the entire recorded history of its worship. I held up my lighter. A wave of pure, primal dread emanated from the stones. Not anger at me, terror at the loss, the destruction of memory, the true famine. I spoke aloud, my voice steady in the whispering dark. This is the choice. You let the cycle end. You learn to be hungry forever. Or you learn to let us go, to let us be fleeting, to let us be free. And we will try to remember you in our stories, not as a god to be fed, but as a warning, as a mystery. It's a different kind of memory, a quieter one. I flicked the lighter. The flame caught. The plastic tapes curled, the tapes themselves melting, the voices of Finch and Henderson dying in a wave of heat and smoke. The knowledge, the instructions, burned. The reaction was instantaneous. The ground trembled. The 7 stones cracked, fine lines spider-webbing across their surfaces. A soundless scream of loss echoed in my soul. The pull vanished. The seductive warmth of the stone in my hand turned cold and inert. The hunger in the air remained, but it was directionless, blunt, a beast blinded. It is not gone. The keeper is still here, but its priesthood is ended. Its garden is untended. It will have to find a new way to exist. Maybe it will sleep. Maybe it will learn. Or maybe one day the violent disappearances will grow too many, and someone will dynamite this gorge and it will die. I don't know. But the choice is no longer mine. I broke the chain. I offered it a new story, the story of its own ending. The soil is not enfolding me. I am not ready. I am something else now, the unlistener, the one who burned the library. I will walk out of here tonight. I will move far away. I will try to live a life that is fleeting and messy and mine. And I will remember this place not with worship, but with a sorrowful pity. This is the end of the story of the Whispering Stones. The tapes are ash. The listeners are gone. But you have heard it. You remember it. In your mind right now, the keeper exists. In this story, it is remembered. And perhaps that is enough. Thank you for listening. Truly, you were my anchor. You were my witness. This story is over. Subscribe the channel and turn on notification button that never miss next story. Take care of you. Bye-bye.